Of course, Lola was able to defend herself. She may have her insecurities, as we all do, but she's also a woman of character, courage, and self-control. Did you notice what I did there in that last sentence? I used alliteration to make it sound more attractive. Do you remember from the last episode what alliteration is? It's the repetition of the first letter of successive words in a phrase. Lola Badiola is a woman of character, courage, and self-control. Alliteration makes our sentences more attractive and more memorable. Okay, let's review the key language learning points from this episode, and we are heading straight back to the concept of phrasal verbs. So here's a question for you. How many phrasal verbs can you form with the root verb to look? There are loads of them, aren't there? Well, in this episode, we used 3 simple and standard phrasal verbs with the root verb to look. We used look out.
Lola stood alone on the balcony of her apartment, looking out across Plaza del 2 de Mayo in the Malasaña district of Madrid.
We used look on.
Diego, Cayetano, let's go. The 2 men dutifully followed her into her office while everyone looked on.
And we used look over.
She looked over the balcony and saw Concha, her best friend, beckoning her down.
Now, these are 3 everyday phrasal verbs. They're quite literal, they're simple, and you can understand them when you see them or you hear them in context. Now, in the research for this podcast, I encountered 17 phrasal verbs with the root verb to look. And there are probably more. Are you ready for the ones that I found? Here we go. Look at, look for, look after. Look ahead, look around, look away. Look back, look forward to, look on. Look into, look out, look over, look through, look up. Look out for, look up to, look down on. Now, instinctively, you know what most of these mean, particularly when you see them in context. And as I've said before, there is no point in learning long lists of phrasal verbs. It's boring and it's depressing. You have to add 2 or 3 new phrasal verbs to your vocabulary each week. So I have chosen 3 phrasal verbs to focus on today. Look out for, look up to, and look down on. Now, what do these 3 phrasal verbs have in common, other than they use the root verb to look? Well, first of all, they're advanced verbs. You will hear native English speakers using these in the office when they're talking about their colleagues, their managers, and their clients. So they're advanced, but they're very commonly used by native English speakers. The second thing that they have in common is each of them have 2 prepositions attached to the verb, which makes them a little bit tricky. So let's start with to look out for. This means to protect someone, to make sure that they are treated well. The company has always looked out for me. That is why I feel so loyal to the management. Are you looking out for your team? Are you making sure that they are happy, healthy, and fully engaged? Okay, now let's move on to look up to and to look down on. These are opposite sides of the same coin. Look up to means to admire, to respect someone. I look up to my mother and my father. I look up to Ian Slatter, my old boss at JP Morgan. Who do you look up to? Look down on is the opposite. It's to feel that someone is not worthy of admiration or respect. And it's difficult to find simple synonyms for this verb, but they would include the words to disdain or to scorn someone. But it's much more likely that you'll hear a native English speaker use the phrasal verb to look down on. And the point is, you believe that you are superior to the people around you. I don't like it when people look down on me. Okay, let's do a little test. I'm going to give you 3 sentences with these phrasal verbs, and you have to choose the correct phrasal verb. I'm going to say the sentence with a gap, and you have to fill in the gap with the correct phrasal verb. It'll be one of the 3 that we've just discussed. So here we go. I have always looked the CEO. She's a true leader. He's such an arrogant manager. He looks everyone in our team. This year is going to be very difficult. We need to look each other. Okay, did they come naturally? Did you manage to include the correct prepositions? Okay, let me read out the full sentences. I've always looked up to the CEO. She's a true leader. He's such an arrogant manager, he looks down on everyone in his team. This year is going to be very difficult. We need to look out for each other. So there you go, 3 advanced phrasal verbs. You should understand them in context, and you should try to experiment with using them when you're interacting in English. Okay, now let's analyze some cool vocabulary. Here we go.
I have more than a dozen hot prospects lined up, and I'd like to visit them this week with our new proposal.
A hot prospect, also known as a warm lead. Now, this is a term that makes every salesperson very excited. It's a potential client that has expressed interest in your product. And the probability of making a sale is therefore high, higher than 50%. I'd say if you have a hot prospect, the likelihood of you closing them is between 70 and 80%. Now, if you classify a lead as a hot prospect, then your manager is going to expect you to close the deal. Why? Well, because the prospect has a problem that you can solve. They probably want to meet you, and they have budget available. That's what makes them a hot prospect. So don't disappoint your manager. Make the sale. Okay, here's the next item of cool vocabulary.
Lola had completely forgotten that Concha and her husband had organized a blind date for her and one of their single male friends.
A blind date is a romantic meeting between 2 people who've never met each other. And it's normally organized by mutual friends. And the point of a blind date is that you know nothing about the person you are meeting. You don't know what they look like. You have no idea about their personality. It's a mystery. So it is exciting and terrifying at the same time. Have you ever been on a blind date? I went on one once when I was a teenager. What an adventure. And what a disaster. And I'm thinking, do blind dates actually still exist? Does this generation of kids actually go out on blind dates? Because with social media and applications like Tinder, it's almost impossible not to know anything about the person you are meeting. even if you have never met them before. You can look them up on Google. You can go onto their Facebook or their Instagram profile, get a very good idea of what they look like, and actually have a good idea of their personality as well. So my question is, do blind dates still exist? As you can see, I haven't been in the dating game for many years. I think what you really want to know right now is what actually happened on the blind date. Was it a success or was it a disaster? Or was it both? Shall we find out? Shall we find out exactly what happened on Lola's blind date? Yes, let's do that. Here's a little bonus chapter. I hope you enjoy it.
Lola took another sip of red wine as she listened to her blind date telling a funny anecdote about his travels. He worked as an engineer for the Red Bull Formula One racing team and spent 9 months of the year travelling from one major city to another. He was intelligent, charming, and he loved the music of Leonard Cohen. As Concha had said earlier that evening, he was perfect for Lola. But Lola's mind was distracted. It fluctuated between the conversation at the dinner table about the skyscrapers in Melbourne and the Ferris wheel in Osaka, and the conversations in her head about J-Block, Ruiz de Velasco, and the cyber attack. By the time they ordered dessert, Lola was feeling a little too drunk for a Wednesday evening. She excused herself from the table and headed to the ladies' toilet. Concha followed her. "So, what do you think?" "About what?" Lola replied, as she touched up her makeup in front of the bathroom mirror. "About your blind date. Oh, he's lovely." Lola paused, and then turned to Concha and said, "What's his name again?" "Come on!" Concha shook her head in genuine frustration. She had made a lot of effort to get these two together, and she wanted it to work. "What's up with you this evening?" Lola stopped retouching her makeup, put down her mascara brush, and then burst into tears, big, loud, uncontrollable sobs. Concha opened her arms, and Lola fell into them like a tall, gangly teenager in need of some mother love. For a moment they didn't say anything. They just rocked from side to side in the middle of the bathroom. A couple of other women came and went, smiling sympathetically as they passed. "He wants to ruin me, Concha." "What?" "He wants to end my career." "Who?" "Ruiz de Velasco." "How?" "He's lying about me, saying I was fired, implying I'm a criminal. I've made the worst decision of my life." Okay, calm down. Let it all out." Lola took a few deep breaths and gradually regained her composure. She caught sight of her face in the bathroom mirror. "Oh, God, look at me now. What a disaster. I feel so sorry for my blind date." She washed her hands and face and took a fresh paper towel from the dispenser. Then she turned to Concha with a smile and said, "What was his name again?" The two women burst into laughter. And when they had calmed down, Lola dried her face, retouched her mascara, and straightened her hair. "Thanks for listening, Concha. I needed that." "Are you sure you're okay?" "Yep. Let's go." They had one last hug, and then Lola picked up her handbag, took a final look at herself in the mirror, and opened the bathroom door. The two women walked confidently back to their table. Lola sat down, leaned forward, and in a quiet voice said to her blind date, "Listen, I haven't really been myself tonight." "Oh? It's a long story." "Okay. Would you mind if we started this blind date from the beginning again?" She smiled at him playfully. "Sure," he replied. She stretched out her hand and said, "Hi, my name's Lola Badiola. What's your name?"